Well, I don't think I am straightforwardly atheist anymore.
Okay.
I certainly was. Um, I, I mean, I would say that I was kind of closer to agnosticism. Um, I was never militantly atheist, and the reason I wasn't militantly atheist was the same reason that I felt suspicious of highly religious people. It seemed to me a form of Puritanism, and I think that even more fully now. So it was closer to agnosticism, and the agnosticism was a kind of, as I say, a kind of inability to decide between the ways in which all these various cultural influences, emotional influences were pulling me. But I think that the conclusion that I've come to is that you asked me what my sense of the sacred is, and I said, the conviction that all human life is sacred, the conviction that the strong have a duty of care to the weak. But I can find no basis for that doesn't depend ultimately on the kind of mythic status of the crucifixion, I suppose. I mean, that seems to me what lies at the heart of the civilization that has generated these ideas as its core values, and attempts to state them as somehow philosophical or political or moral principles that can be followed without the animating power of that myth seem to me to be faintly anemic. So I powerfully believe in the story of the crucifixion and the resurrection as a myth. And oddly, one of the things that I have found helpful over the past 2 years, and it's a most unexpected person because I had viewed his writings as a kind of adolescent fling that I'd massively grown up from, was the writings of Tolkien, who was obsessed by myth and a devoutly believing Catholic, and talked about how myth can be true. And I suppose that's where I am at the moment. I believe that the Christian myth, in some deep psychological, emotional, spiritual way, is true. Now, whether that in turn means that the Lord Jesus Christ rose from the dead on the third day and is seated at the right hand of God the Father, that's harder for me to believe. But it may be that having acknowledged the myth that lies at the heart of Christianity as true, it may be that I will come to that, and I would welcome that. Like Agent Malta, I want to believe, and there are times when I do believe. There are times when I believe. There are times when, at Christmas or Easter, or when you're at places where thin places, places where the divine seems to intrude upon the mortal, or where I read certain things, or where I contemplate certain people who seem to me to particularly embody Christian truths, and I do feel this kind of, I think, oh, this must be what it's like to believe. It's a kind of when you take an ecstasy pill, the onset is a kind of glowing. It's a kind of golden glowing in the blood. And I imagine that faith must be that kind of ecstasy, and that's why it's called ecstasy. And there are times where I feel it, and then it kind of fades away again. But I would love to feel that.